I'm very proud to announce that PlayStation 4 will be available at $399.
The PS4 generation couldn't have gone any better for Sony. Last week, Sony announced lifetime sales of 110 million units of the PlayStation 4, faster than any other console in history. It's poised to overtake the PS2 if the PS4 and PS4 Pro continue to remain in production. The generation was as much a failure for Nintendo and Microsoft as it was a success for Sony. Nintendo went missing for 3 of these PS4 years with the Wii U, and Microsoft shot itself in the foot with horrible marketing for the Xbox One and never recovered. But next generation consoles are coming up in less than 6 months' time and gives Microsoft a new chance to challenge Sony again. And that's the reason behind today's video. I want to look at the gaming landscape for next generation consoles. Who's going to be challenging Sony? How price and performance plays a part in the next-gen console race? And look ahead on the horizon, based on what we already know. And I'm predicting that Sony won't have it so easy this time around.
For instance, PlayStation 4 won't impose any new restrictions on the use of PS4 gamers.
Number 1. PS4 had no competition this generation. The PS4 generation was a cakewalk for Sony. It began with Microsoft completely bungling their Xbox One marketing, highlighting that they were moving to an all-digital era, with online DRM, and that games weren't tradable, resellable, or swappable between friends. This was further exacerbated by Microsoft proudly announcing a mandatory Kinect tie-in to every Xbox One console, and proclaiming a low price of $4.99, which was shortly 24 hours later embarrassed by Sony and its superior hardware at $3.99. Core gamers did not want Kinect and voted with their wallets. Nintendo did not provide any real competition either. Its Wii U was a complete failure, selling 13 million units during its lifetime, a feat that the Switch surpassed within the first year of its life. For 3 whole years, the PS4 had the console landscape all to itself, giving it 60 million unit head start against the Switch. Since then, the Switch and the PS4 have traded blows, while the Xbox One has been some distance behind. That's not just going to be the case for this new generation. The Nintendo Switch is wildly successful, and Microsoft, well, we'll have to wait and see, but it at least looks like they've gone back to their core gamer roots. And as you'll see with the following arguments, the PS5 will have some much needed competition. Number 2. Performance. The PS4 from day one carried a performance advantage over Xbox One, and not only was it better, it was cheaper by $100. Aside from brand loyalty and wanting to play the latest Halo and Gears of War, there was simply no reason for the neutral customer to buy an Xbox One unless all their friends were on it. It was a no-brainer decision to buy a faster and cheaper PS4. This led to the PS4 simply trouncing the competition and eventually outselling the Xbox One 2-1. With the PS5, it no longer carries that performance advantage over the Xbox Series X. The PS5 currently measures at 10 teraflops versus Xbox Series X's 12 teraflops. It's a 20% advantage to the Xbox Series X. The PS5 does have a much faster SSD, but it remains to be seen how it all stacks up, and we won't see that till we get testing in actual games. Therefore, I really see that consumers will, for a good while at least, choose the console based on other merits. But it appears at least that Microsoft have eliminated the argument that the competition has better hardware. Sony simply can't claim the performance crown.
I'm very proud to announce that PlayStation 4 will be available at $399.
Number 3. Price. The PS4 had a clear advantage at price, being $399 versus the Xbox One being $499 at launch, and was one of the major reasons it dominated. While the PS5 may still have a $100 difference to the Xbox Series X, the Xbox can at least this time round point to better hardware if it costs slightly more. But there will also be more competition at both ends of the spectrum, in the form of PC gamers, an enthusiastic base which continues to grow with continuing demand on high-performance machines, and also on the Nintendo Switch, taking up the lower end of the market with its hybrid portable machine. The PS5 will be sharing the market with a lot of capable options. And as the PS5 and Xbox head in a similar direction to PCs, the price versus performance question will be pivotal, given this is often given as an objective measure of value. But it appears that this generation, the value proposition will be close enough that an argument could be made for any system. In short, PlayStation is no longer the clear and unequivocal winner like the PS4 was. The other factor in play is that it is highly likely at this point that both the PS5 and Xbox Series X will be priced higher than last generation. We've already heard rumors of the PS5 being $540 for a base version and $650 for a premium version with double the storage space. A higher launch price point will lead to lower units at least for the first year or so.
Next holiday, Xbox Series X will lead us into the future of console gaming.
Number 4. Microsoft. Microsoft, more than Nintendo, threatens Sony's position as leader of the console game industry. It sells essentially the same products to the consumer, so one third-party software sale to Microsoft is effectively one sale lost to Sony. During the PS4 generation, Microsoft was outsold 2-to-1 on hardware. That translates to a significant amount of software sales lost. Microsoft doesn't release software sales numbers, but we know Sony sold 1.2 billion PS4 titles in its lifetime. This time though, Microsoft at least seems to have got back to its roots of appealing to its core gamer audience, the same as it did when the Xbox and Xbox 360 launched. The Xbox Series X looks like it favors performance, and at its latest Inside Xbox showcase, showed off a range of core gamer-focused titles like Vampires Bloodlines 2 and Yakuza Like a Dragon. And if they can regain momentum on the software front and bring back some old franchises like Crimson Skies or Rally Sport Challenge, then there's going to be a lot that's new and exciting with Microsoft. Right now, Microsoft should have nothing to lose. They have the backing of an enormous $1 trillion company and all the market share in the world to gain. And as we saw with the Nintendo Switch, it doesn't take long for sentiment for a company to change. Number 5. PC. Sony won't just be battling Xbox fans, they'll also have to contend with fans that feel the itch for more performance go the way of the PC. And it seems to me there should be more enthusiast gamers go from console to PC. There's no real way of proving this other than to watch market trends or gaming surveys, but from a fundamental point of view, the PC holds some very simple advantages for the enthusiast. The enthusiast gamer is always happy to pay for more performance, and the PC market affords them the ability to spend freely. Not only do the games look better on more capable and costly hardware, but frame rates can help improve gameplay enjoyment and also on a competitive level. For multiplayer gaming, there's no substitute for a high-performance machine. These days, there's a lot of reporting looking at the technical side of games, from sites like Eurogamer's Digital Foundry or even benchmark testing channels all over YouTube. In general, PC dominates tests like these and will always convert gamers over. That said, I'm not dismissing console gamers here. There are many reasons why a PC player would convert to consoles, and these might have to do with price or maybe buying games locally. But in terms of the overall market dynamics, there are always going to be people that seek the best in performance, and that's what PCs are capable of. Number 6, services. One area Sony does need to catch up in are the services they're offering. Sony made impressive gains on the online front and have 40 million PS Plus members currently. They did this by being the leading console seller this generation and offering 2 free PS4 games per month for members. Microsoft still leads with 65 million active members through Xbox Live, but Microsoft's offering simply does more right now. Many games are Xbox Play Anywhere titles, playable with one purchase across PC and Xbox. Microsoft in the last year has expanded its Game Pass program, possibly the most comprehensive buffet gaming service on the market. For $10 a month, gamers can play all the games in the Game Pass library for free, and Microsoft put its own first-party titles to promote the service. While Sony has a similar type of service with PS Now, a streaming service with a library of games, it's simply not as popular right now, but that's probably mostly due to the games on the service, something Sony can easily fix. Microsoft have first-party titles on their Game Pass service on day one, and Sony don't. Sony too should also be concerned about gamers choosing PCs for online multiplayer. It'd be one thing if Sony had a must-play first-party multiplayer shooter, but many of Sony's AAA games are story-driven action games like Uncharted or Spider-Man. They do great for Sony, but they don't drive PS Plus sales. $50 per year for membership starts to add up after a while. Number 7, exclusives. And finally, the big one, exclusives. The one area where Sony can separate themselves from their competition. And Sony, along with Nintendo, have been excellent at managing their franchises, with games like God of War, Uncharted, The Last of Us, and Spider-Man doing incredibly well. So why should this be a concern for Sony? The fact is, we've seen competition increase in the AAA space. As games get bigger and become more labor intensive, the cost to make them and the risk versus reward simply becomes too great a risk for the investor. We may end up seeing less first-party titles as AAA games take longer to make. Cyberpunk 2077, Grand Theft Auto 6, and Elder Scrolls 6 are taking upwards of 5 or more years to make before release. Nintendo gets by because they make less complicated games technically with much smaller teams. Is that the way Sony wants to go? I think they've gone too far down the AAA space to back out in just one generation. And if there are less AAA games, that's less incentive to buy a Sony console. While it would be great to see Microsoft bring back all its franchises from the Xbox era, we also see a clear lack of AAA games from Microsoft. It's Halo and Gears of War, and that's about it. Microsoft have been making studio purchases, but they've been pretty careful who they buy. inXile, Obsidian, Ninja Theory, Double Fine, Mojang. These are smaller developers that have clearly needed publisher help fitting that core gamer space Microsoft are trying to build on. These aren't AAA studios, they make Wasteland, Pillars of Eternity, and Hellblade. These are solid titles that review well, but don't cost huge sums of money to make. That's probably the direction Sony want to go too. As AAA games take longer to make, there needs to be A-quality games to fill in the gaps. So, in conclusion, this isn't a hit piece knocking Sony, or playing devil's advocate just to get clicks. The general sentiment I see online is that Sony is going to dominate again, and Microsoft is just going to get left with the scraps. But if one thing is clear on the internet, it doesn't take a lot to turn sentiment, and if Microsoft is the underdog, they have a lot to gain. Every generation starts with hardware units sold at 0, and as we've laid out in this video, with gaming performance being very similar, with Xbox Live and Game Pass being very competitive, and with AAA games taking longer to make, Sony isn't going to have it as easy as it did in the PlayStation 4 generation when it got next to no competition. So that's it for this one. Hope you enjoyed my take on the generation ahead for PlayStation 5. If you like this video, please click on the like button and subscribe for more videos, and I'll see you in the next one.